Well, I learned and discovered many years ago that for me, I find that the entry point to a lot of success for people as a whole being comes through simple things they can do for the body. That a single modality of, say, just not putting down psychotherapy, but just talking or just only having that one tool in your toolbox. We are very lucky in that we have a whole variety of ways to affect people on many different levels. And that's why I think this kind of work is important. And to have people understand that this is a scientific, rational approach to something that could be seen as ephemeral by some people, could be seen as not concrete enough for them to say, oh, that's not going to work. It isn't. It does work if you are taking a step-by-step progressive approach. It does work, as you say, if you discover and listen and make your adjustments. I think it's a big thing to get somebody to listen to what's going on inside of the period. Just that alone is sometimes a minor miracle, because I always mention that it's difficult to make changes if you're not aware of distress or problems or feedback. You're getting feedback, but as you said, you're ignoring it for whatever reasons, and there are valid reasons for ignoring things, right? If you're in a lot of pain or discomfort, you know, one of the ways that people deal with it is trying to shut off that apparatus, you know, by using masking agents or numbing out, I call it, or whatever, you know, distraction, or whatever it is that, you know, can diminish discomfort. So, you've been in the fitness industry, I'll call it a fitness industry, for a long time, because whether we like it or not, we're part of it, because we take payment for services. So, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes in it, as I have. I've been doing it since the 80s, so I've seen it. Ooh, boy, have I seen some revolutions going on. Some good, some bad. We have a lot of disinformation, I'll call it, out there in regards to commercial fitness. We have a whole perspective of looking at the body from the outside. I call it dial the body. You decide that you want your body to look a certain way, and then you choose exercises or modalities that you think will get you there. And I think there's a lot of problems inherent with that, obviously, because it doesn't account for wellness. It doesn't account for individuality in terms of what an individual needs. Kind of lumps you in the whole pool of, well, you're supposed to look this way, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you. I was wondering what you thought about what we could do about that, or where that is right now in your mind. How do you deal with that as a practitioner?
Well,
do you deal with it as a practitioner?
In a way I do, because most of the people I'd say who come to me are people who are trying to get away from the impact of that kind of image-driven value system has on them and their bodies. And then sometimes people have come to me because they've tried a lot of things and they work to a degree or don't work at all, and they're still looking for something, and they hear that what I do is going to help them, so they come, and then I meet up against that sort of image-driven value system directly. The challenge with that is that it doesn't work, in the sense that we're neurologically designed to be much more complex. And so if...
I like the way you put that.
And
in other words, we're not that dumb.
And actually, at a silent level of, just a living, breathing, organismic process, it's really much more sophisticated than the image-driven process.
Absolutely.
And so we end up being in conflict with ourselves when we try to make our bodies look a certain way according to a certain cultural standard. And that's completely imposed by the external situation.
Right.
And it's a setup for huge amounts of shame and humiliation, ultimately.
Right, and disappointment.
disappointment and I would say actual physical diminishment.
Yes.
Because you try to force your body and your nervous system into shapes and forms that it wasn't really meant to be in the first place.
Right.
Except for maybe a few people whose bodies are inclined to be that way.
Sure.
I mean, I don't get like buffed muscle tone, and I never will, and I never did, and I never will. So if I started pumping iron, I'd still end up with softer looking muscles. That doesn't mean they wouldn't be strong and they wouldn't be highly toned.
Well, that's why people go further, right? When they can't achieve those things and they utilize, drugs
Right.
and severe nutrition and also severe training
Right.
modalities where they deplete themselves
Yeah.
to a ridiculous. What gems can you give? What advice do you have for people who are, looking for something to take care of themselves in terms of fitness training? For instance, I was writing an article or something, and I was trying to explain that it's not necessary to go to a gymnasium as part of taking care of yourself. That, as you said before, it's so vast. There's so many things that you can do to take care of yourself, to be fit, to be well. And I was wondering what your thought process is on what would you say to people?
Well, first of all, I think it's helpful to think about when did this whole thing we call fitness begin to emerge. Culturally, it really began to emerge when people weren't really moving much in their daily lives for survival.
Huh.
So people started becoming more sedentary,
Right.
sitting at desks, sitting in cars, walking just a few feet to
Right.
get their food, sitting down again,
Right.
right? So,
Or ordering it, having it delivered
yeah, exactly. So,
to their spot.
and the more we become, computerized in certain ways, the less we have to move our bodies.
Absolutely.
So we're creating these things we call fitness to get ourselves to keep moving, because whether we know it consciously or not, our bodies know that we need a diversity of movement in our lives.
Right.
So I would encourage people to move in different ways throughout their day, throughout their week, throughout their month, so that they're getting different kinds of activity, different stimulation for their circulatory processes, for their nervous systems. And you will feel, any one of us will feel, when we're getting the right kinds of stimulation through our movement, we'll both have the capacity to get really revved up and sustain that for a period of time, and then we'll know when to let all that settle down and rest again and sleep when we're ready and wake up again and get active again. So I would encourage people to walk, to dance, to, if they like to do martial arts, to join a group of something that feels right for them, to do things like continuum or yoga or tai chi. There's all kinds of different wonderful somatic movement practices. I would encourage people to sing. Whatever it is that makes them actually they feel their body go, yeah, this feels right for me. We get tricked, you could say, by our own thought processes. And what we forget is that thought is actually born of failure. And I'm quoting, or semi-quoting, a man named Lancelot Law White. He said, Thought is born of failure. And what he means by that is we only start thinking about things when a basic need is not being met. When all of our basic needs are being met, we don't really think about things. We move here, we do this, we do that, we have a great conversation, we might go to a movie, we get some food, we do our work, it's all great. But as soon as something's not quite right, we start thinking, and we start trying to figure it out by thinking and by looking at this, and maybe I should do that and that. So me, that's the first sign that I need to pause, breathe,
I like that.
feel, and say, what do I need? So if I'm thinking about training for a marathon, or skydiving, or even just training to get myself to be able to walk around town and ride a city bike, I need to feel into that for a little bit and see, well, how does that really actually feel for me? Do I get a feeling? Do I get a feeling? Do I get a feeling?
Right.
All of those are trying to tell me something that I need to listen to, and then I'll know how much to engage in whatever time. So maybe for some reason I really do want to train for a marathon.
Sure.
But then I've got to go about it slowly and considerately and find the right person or team of people to help really give my body the support along the way. Same thing, if I really just want to get in shape enough to ride the city bike around town, then I'm going to want to, attend to that incrementally as I can. So that would be my dream for all of us, is that we pause ourselves in that kind of the rat race of our own thinking.
I think that's fantastic.
And attend to it more silently, feel into it, and then move in those ways.
It's wonderful.
And engage the people like you and others that you've been interviewing to, help us learn of ourselves from ourselves.
Well, I really, really thank you for the conversation, for the time, and for the knowledge that you shared with everybody. And if you wouldn't mind showing a little bit, anything that you'd like to show, because it would be wonderful. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I couldn't ask for more.
You're so welcome. Thank you. This has been such a treat. Yeah, and an honor. So I can keep moving, but